Perry.
In 1,000 feet, use the right 2 lanes to keep right.
All right, hey friends, it's Wednesday, June 30, 2021. I want to welcome you back to the Future Frontier. Thanks for being here, watching. My name is Peter. This is Prepare to Go There. I like to think of this as the most overlooked and underrated coaching conversation that any of us could be a part of right now, because I'm convinced the future needs our focus, that there's so much more waiting on us in front of us than we could ever imagine. So we better give it our full attention. I'm here to help you take that future, all those things you've talked about doing, all those things you've wanted to try to go for. Somehow they ended up on the back burner, but I'm here to help you put your future back on the front burner. Let's get after it. Let's dream again, and let's actually do the work that it's going to take, the necessary preparation to go for it. So this is a cool day. I'm in week 3 of this live stream show, but this is my very first day, I think, to go public on YouTube. Normally I was practicing and just putting this on my website, but this is the first day. I think, I'm like, let me try this. Let me see how it goes. And the reason I'm doing this is actually for the engagement, for the conversation. And so I'm going to try and wait a second, let some friends jump on. But what I would love is if there is anyone out there in the internet, you can now leave a comment. And the first question I want you to let me know is where you're watching from. Where you're watching from. That would be fun. And I'm just going to go on with the rest of the notes here. But let me know where you're watching from, and this will be cool. We'll have a little time of follow up. I'm going to ask you some challenging, clarifying questions, and I'm glad that my wife is watching. Very cool. All right, love you, dear. We're gonna have a fun time. It's gonna be good. Like I said, welcome to Prepare to Go There, and really, I just want to say welcome back to the Future Frontier. Prepare to Go There is a coaching journey. It's an invitation for friends and leaders alike who want to better lead themselves, so that way they can pioneer new and needed ways into a better future for everyone else. And I have personally found that, most people, they don't know how to lead others into a better future because they really don't know how to lead themselves there first. And it really is a chronic condition that I think all of us could relate to in one way or another. We talk big and we dream big, but we don't know how do we actually take people, the people we care about, the people we serve, the people we want to influence, how do we actually take them into a better future? And if you don't know how to lead yourself into that better future, then you won't know how to lead others. So most people, they don't know how to lead themselves because maybe they're unclear, right? They're unclear on how to even describe the future, how to describe their purpose, the process of where they are on that mountaintop moment when they feel inspired and they can see it all. And they don't know how to describe the process to get from that point to where they actually see themselves going in the future, where they can then do it all, be it all. And then I have found that a lot of people, they have this, this clear sense of what is possible, but they just need a more tactical approach to take on that uncharted territory ahead, so to speak. And so they're like, yeah, I really believe it's doable. I just haven't done it yet. And I haven't really seen it done before. So what is the actual, practical, tactical process to get there? And so I feel like I've been on that journey with you already for many years. I've been figuring out how to lead myself, how to lead others, and how to lead through others. And I want to just invite you into this coaching journey. And it's long format. I go about an hour and then I'm going daily, just building context and creating this conversation. And so I don't think that there's going to be any like gotcha moments in the moment, but I think compound over time, we're going to begin to see a lot of pioneering leaders, emerging leaders, just being inspired, being trained how to practically, tactically prepare to go there. And that's why I want to do this. That's my why. I want to serve a community of emerging leaders that are otherwise overlooked, and they're pretty much underestimated because this preparation time is mission critical for them, and it's in the hidden spaces of life, and you don't even see how these emerging leaders are preparing. And so I just want to kind of call out to you guys and say, hey, if you're growing, if you're developing as a leader, I can get you outfitted for the future. I can help you with the coaching. I'm looking forward to create online courses. And then really, I'm just calling you into this community of emerging leaders that I call the future friends. And so I want to invite you to drop your email into the email community. I call you guys the future friends. I think you should find more friends for your future, people that are going to dream with you and then work on the plan to get there. And what you'll get is all of the content that's coming out from this community, as well as incentives for the online courses. They won't be available anywhere else except to and through this email community. And then you'll have access to the future friends as well. So I'm really pumped that we can now have some interaction. And so as you're just kind of catching wind of the engagement that's now happening on Prepare to Go There, you can jump in and say hi, and we can work on your future. And so I have a gift for you just for showing up. This is going to be in maybe a few different places. Maybe you're watching this on YouTube now, but I also want to give a gift to you. It's on my website, peterbirchfield.com. And let me make this a little bigger for you. And so what I have for you is a PDF. It's a fail-proof planning guide. And I won't belabor it, but basically, if we've learned anything from 2020, it's to put things on the calendar in pencil, because it seems like the future is even more unpredictable than it usually is. And so that can be a bit daunting when you take on the task of, running headlong into an unpredictable future and figuring out new and needed ways to make it unforgettable. But it is possible. And the way is, you can't be so married to just one certain set way of doing things. You're going to have to hold the plan loosely, but then really work at getting a good grip on the planning process. I think it was Eisenhower who said, plans are nothing, but planning is everything. And so what that means is that there's a mindset and a skill set that is a part of planning, that you can have a skill set that lets you stay agile, not fragile. And as things are changing, it doesn't faze you, because you know how to be resilient, resourceful, and to keep moving. And that's what this guide is going to help you with. It's going to give you a step-by-step proven process, so that way you can learn how do you actually plan an effective day, set great goals again and again and again. Not just a one-hit wonder, but I mean like serial success. And so that's what I want to share with you for free. Please just share your email, join the email community, Future Friends, and you can download it instantly. My wife, Sarah Joy, and I worked on this, and so you're really getting a lot of value from it. Let's kick it off with our conversation today, making life work for you one day at a time. And so I think the big question that we're asking with this is, how do you make life work, period? I mean, it seems like there's so much we're working on, but it doesn't feel like you're really seeing the results of that input. You're looking for more output. What's missing? What's needed? And so just to kind of tee this off, I want to share a quote from the legendary leader, John Wooden. He said, "Discipline yourself and others won't need to." Man, if that is a good word for prepare to go there for the future friends. How do you pioneer the future? How do you prepare to go there? You have to lead yourself straight into it. You can't procrastinate. You have to adopt a lifestyle of preparation. And so discipline, it doesn't have to be a scary word. It can actually help us answer this big question. How do you make life work for you? Like, is there a way that just me doing life is actually compounding, force multiplying better and better results? I've discovered through observation and experience that a bad decision leads to more bad decisions, and they can kind of grow on you like that. But the same is true of the opposite. Good decisions can produce more good decisions. And then there's kind of like a snowball effect. It gets easier and better and stronger. And there's this kind of like, exponential curve, and it just takes off. And so we want to figure out, how do we compound those good decisions, and how are we going to turn everyday life into that exciting future that we've been looking forward to? Because if we're just procrastinating our progress and procrastinating our joy and procrastinating our plans, we're just waiting for like the sweet spot, or we're waiting for the perfect timing or the perfect day, it'll never come. The truth is that the future is showing up day after day, waiting for you to engage it. And so here's the I guess the one sentence summary for the conversation today. If you want to make life work for you, you're going to do it one day at a time. That's how you make life work for you. You make life work for you by putting in the work one day at a time. Just by showing up day by day, just by putting in the work again and again, you're going to see a compound interest. You're going to see force multiplication. You're going to see not just identity updates, but identity upgrades, because you've learned how you're going to work that time, putting in the work one day at a time. And believe me, I'm all for getting ahead. I'm all for batching, and automating. But if you realize the power of daily work, showing up daily and doing the work, it could put you years ahead. And so the two places that I want to target right now is making time to work out and making time to get in a workflow. I know you're expecting something, better, more inspiring, but really this is foundational. This is what it looks like. And it starts with just this idea: are you willing to put in the work? Like, I know you want to move further, faster. I know you want to pioneer those new and needed ways into a better future. But I mean, if it were easy, everybody would already be doing this. Everyone would already be there living in that amazing future. I mean, didn't you think that by 2021, we would have our flying cars and we'd be teleporting and we'd be eating food that just, like materialized off of the screen? But we're not there yet. See, like, people have to work at it, work on it. We have to put in that work. And so many friends and even so many leaders, they don't know what that kind of work looks like. It's an old adage, but it's so true that you're going to get out what you put in. So where you are right now, are you looking at your input? Are you assessing it and saying, okay, I want to see more output. I better work on my input. What you get out comes from what you get in. Are you willing to put in the work? And you may ask, hey, I'm not getting anything out of my workouts or my workflow. I'm not getting anything out. What do I do? Well, are you putting something in? Are you putting in the time? Are you putting in the commitment? Are you putting in the reconnaissance and the strategic thought? And are you putting in, those relationships and the mentorship? Are you putting in the work to make life work for you? Because I'm serious, if you will put in the work over time, it's going to work out in so many ways you did not expect for yourself. Welcome, Justin. Thanks for being on. All right. So I want to talk about these two areas really of just leading yourself well: workouts and workflows. And I'll be sincere, I'm not good with where I am right now. I'm not good with my workouts or my workflows, but the good news is I'm putting in work. I'm showing up every week. I'm ready to start showing up every day, but I'm doing my part, and it's gotten me to this place. And just by talking and having this conversation, it's already fueling my focus and hopefully fueling your focus to keep your future on the front burner. And so because I'm putting in the work, I'm confident that this stuff is going to be working. I'm willing to work on the way I do my workouts and my workflows. So here's my goal for you today. My goal for you today is I want you to get ready to work out or get in a workflow no matter where you are, right? This is prepare to go there. So where are you going? I mean, who knows? The future, right? You're going places. You got to put in the preparation. And so kind of my thinking, and for my wife and I, we really do embrace a travel lifestyle. We want to be agile. We want to stay mobile. We want to go for movement. And so we're trying to think intentionally about, could this lifestyle translate if we're traveling? Could this lifestyle translate if we have access to a gym or not? Or, we have a dedicated workspace, or we're just hanging out in a coffee shop somewhere. Like, how would that work? How could we actually make life work if we don't have the set perfect environment where all the conditions are there? I'm thankful for that. I'm good with customizing your living space, but you don't always live there. You don't always do life there, and you surely don't always lead there. So how are you going to make this work no matter where you are? Now, if you're willing to get started and put in the work, and you really want to have this conversation about workouts and workflows, I want you to put yes in the comments. Just put yes in the comments and we'll get started. All right, so let's move into the workout part. What I'm trying to do is not give you everything. I can't. I'm on a journey. I'm learning. I'm figuring this out too. But even me talking about it, it's going to spark this chain reaction of action. And hopefully what we're going to do is just kind of war game and strategize. How can we bring, less friction, the entry of barrier? How can we make it easier to get into the workout? And then how could we keep up more consistency with our workouts? Like, you probably already know, it's pretty obvious. It's good to work out. It's healthy. It's important. But I want to say, just from a leadership standpoint, when you show up for your team, when you show up for your business, when you show up for that community that you're serving, you want to bring the best of you, not the rest of you from last week, last month, all of the baggage and the stress and the struggles. Man, you've got to have a way to grow, reset, come back better. And the reality is that the future is already happening one day at a time, with or without us. So we've got to bring the best, not just the rest of what we went through in the past. And so the response is, we're making time to work out, and we're making time to get in a workflow. And so we want to work things out before we go to the workout. And so there's a few things that I want you to think about. The first thing is, I want you to work out the excuses. Ouch. We got to work out the excuses that keep us from showing up. Work out the excuses with irresistible reasons. Like, do you have reasons that make physical training irresistible? If the stakes were high enough, you would probably go work out, right? So we're not waiting on something really good or something really bad to happen on the external. We want to raise the stakes internally. We want to foster some internal motivation, and we can do that by having these two questions: what's at stake, and what's possible. So it's kind of negative and positive. Negative side is, what's at stake if I don't do this? Like, what's really at stake for your health, for your energy? What's at stake for your ability to lead, your ability to lead yourself and lead others? What is at stake if you cannot show up at a level 10? What's at stake if your health becomes at risk? What's at stake if you get so stressed out and you cannot continue? What is at stake? Could you actually imagine? Now, I'm not saying that you paint this like horrific picture, but I am saying you need to take some some realism, and you need to realize that you are a steward of the way you live. And there are going to be consequences for the choices that we all make. And so you got to figure out what's at stake if I don't do this, and what's at stake if I don't do this now. But then you can also flip it and you say, what's possible? What's possible when I do this? Like, night and day transformations are possible when you show up and you leave your excuses in bed, you leave your excuses at home, you leave your excuses behind you, and you keep making moves because you've got this picture of what's possible. So this is all about working on your why and figuring out, why do you want to show up again and again? Why do you want to work out? Even if you don't have it all figured out, you can work out these excuses. And you don't need enough motivation to finish this like year-long marathon commitment, but you do need enough motivation to start. So all you need is enough motivation to start. And depending on how you get motivated, stay motivated, what's at stake, what's possible, I encourage you, man, work on both of those sides so that way you are very clear that this is not an option anymore. This is not an option anymore. This is important, and this is going to help me lead. The next kind of part of this is I want you to work out the logistics before you show up. So even before you get to your gym or your home gym or the living room or, the backyard, wherever you're going to go, be active, wherever you're going to get moving, wherever you're going to, raise your heart rate and just focus on physical training. Like, don't come cold. Don't just show up and be like, I tried. It didn't work. And you just kind of like mess around with the weights and then you like hurt yourself. And then you use that as evidence that it's all wrong and you're not that kind of person. And that's for all the sports people or the athletes or the bodybuilders or the CrossFitters, and you're not that person. Like, you got to really get over that and even get over yourself and say, this is not about me right now. Like, I want to do this so I feel better, so I can lead myself, so I can crush great results in the day. But there's other people depending on me to be dependable. And so one of the hacks is you need to put some thinking into it. Work out the logistics before you show up. Like, for real, what is the objective for doing this? Do you want to work on cardio? Do you want to work on strength? Do you want to work on posture? Like, are there certain pains that you're combating? Are there certain goals that you're moving towards? And get excited about the objectives. Man, this is like a big game, and you're going to be the winner because you're not going to quit. You're going to commit. You are very clear on what's the objective, and then you're going to figure out how to make that happen. So now it's time to map things out. And for me personally, the barrier to entry rather was so big that I didn't even feel motivated to show up. I didn't even I don't know. I probably showed up to the first workout, if you want to call it that, like in my jeans. I was just so out of it. Didn't have really a lot of reference. I think, junior high, high school, I kind of had some weird experiences. And I just thought, okay, I'm just going to get through this. I'm just trying to get out of this. But then I realized, oh, this is for me. This is to help me lead. This is to help me succeed. So it'd be cool. Like, get an outfit, get your clothes mapped out before. Another thing is get your plan, go research and just find a video on YouTube, or find a workout plan, or go research a gym that you can be a part of. But you don't want to just show up cold and have nothing to do. You want to know exactly what that workout could look like, and you want to go after it. Now, one thing that's been a big game changer for me is using these stretch bands. Now, this is not the only type of workout that we have, but I would say in this season of life, as we just moved into a new home and we're just kind of going through that whole phase of moving in and getting settled, I don't have, all of the pieces in place for this like epic, gym, and I'm just like going hard every day, but I still want to show up regardless. I still want to show up. And so there is something I can do. And so this is just seed sowing, but getting these stretch bands are amazing. And you'd be surprised how sore you can get just by using some stretch bands. I mean, it's amazing. And you can get different kinds of stretch bands and do different workouts, and you can use them for a variety of things, just for stretching or resistance training or on and on. And you can find things on YouTube where people just take you through entire workouts with, calisthenics or movement, or just kind of using body weight to have a good workout for the day. And one thing that I have really, really loved when it comes to working out logistics is getting a playlist with music and podcasts, so I can put them in and just listen to it. And it actually becomes like, I don't know, a little ear candy or a little incentive for me to show up, because that is now the time where I get to go through the podcast and learn about leadership and learn about, my faith, or learn about current events, or expand my worldview. And that's kind of something fun that I like to do. Is more of the cerebral stuff, more of the, the learning side. But this, I can pair it with this physical training, and it's been a lot of fun. So work out the logistics, and you can get like a bag and have your workout stuff set. You could keep it in the car. You could have it in your backpack when you're commuting. You should always be thinking, okay, I want to be ready to work out. I want to do that physical training. I want to have movement in my life. I don't want to ever atrophy, and I don't want to ever slow down. I want to stay mobile. I want to stay flexible. I want to build my strength. I want to develop my core. Like, already, I'm getting fired up. How do I do it now? You have to take action. You have to take the action and begin to work out those logistics. And answer those simple questions, because they're going to come up again and again and again. When, where, how long, what? You just got to work through all those logistics up front. And what it does is it adds this momentum. I kind of imagine it like, instead of leaning back with hesitancy, now you're leaning forward with expectancy. You're saying, man, I'm looking forward to that workout. I know what it's going to look like. I've got stuff ready. I'm going to show up and I'm going to go for it. And you've made a schedule, you've made a plan, and now you're going to go try it. You're going to implement it. Okay, now the next part of building out your workouts is when you show up, you got to put in the work, and you have to work out the best you know how. And this is such a challenge if maybe you don't feel very confident, or maybe you don't feel competent, and you're like, man, I'm just not good. Of course you're not that good. You're just getting started. Like, it's going to take time, but you have to plant those seeds today if you want to see them grow, mature, and multiply one day. So you got to just go for it. And what's going to happen is you're going to figure out all those questions that you've been waiting on. You will never get those answers until you get the data to figure it out. And so the answers you're waiting on are actually waiting on you. All right. The results you're waiting on are actually waiting on you. So it is much, much better to do a real workout than an ideal workout. Man, that's good. It's better to do a real workout that was like a 4 or come on, a 2 than to like wait for this ideal workout where you're like free soloing and you're like, oh yeah, I'm building up for that. It's like, you're never going to get that. Not at this rate. So you just got to show up and work out the best you know how. And you have to have this sense of urgency that goes with it. And so when you wake up and you're trying to get in motion and get the day moving, like, do you have some urgency that compels you, man, when I do this, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to be more grounded. I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to invest in myself so that way I can give out more to others. And you have to do the best you can with what you have today. It will get better by default if you commit and don't quit. It will get better by default if you commit and don't quit. One thing that I really enjoy is my wife and I work out together. And so I encourage you work out with someone who will motivate you to keep going. Now, in this equation, in this season, my wife had to tell me, hey, get up, get going. Cause I'm like the ideal thinker. I'm like, okay, it could be better. We could do it this way, that way. I'm like researching, oh, I need to research and research and research. And you've done enough. You know so much more. Like if you know how to do push-ups and sit-ups and run, that's enough. Like, why haven't you been doing that? Okay. You can always improve, but you got to get going. You got to get started. And so work out with someone who's going to motivate you to keep going. It could be a friend, it could be a partner, it could be a coach. You can go to a gym, you could be in a group, whatever. You've just got to go into a place where you feel motivated to keep going. I'll talk on that in a little bit more. But work out the way you want to work out by working out. I know that's a tongue twister. I know that doesn't make sense, but hang in there with me. Let me say it again. Work out the way you want to work out by working out. So many times we're trying to think up and plan out the perfect workout. Oh, well, I'm going to do this on these days and this on that day. And you've kind of like role played this thing, but it's pretty much LARPing until you go out and do it. Like you got to just show up and you have to work out. And then you get the real data. And now you can feed that into your strategic planning and improve upon it. And there's an exponential curve for the better if you actually design the kind of workout you want to have after you've already done it. So don't wait for the perfect plan. Perfect the plan by doing it again and again and again and again. Like this right here as just an example. I've been doing this for 3 weeks, even before I'm going on YouTube. So you just lean into the process, enjoy the journey, and see what happens. Now, in this season, in this chapter of life, here's what I'm doing. I will alternate workouts and walking. Workouts and walking. And that counts. It really does count. Like, go for movement. Stay mobile. Like, just put yourself out there. And kind of the focus for me right now has been stretching. So my wife is probably laughing just by hearing this. But stretching is kind of a big deal for me right now. So that's what I'm going to lean into. No pun intended. And I love the stretch bands. And I want to really get good at stretch bands and then build on that foundation. And basically, I'm like doing, if you are familiar with CrossFit, I'm basically doing the warm-up of a CrossFit workout. And for me, that's the workout right now. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to go for it. And I'm aiming for that, 40-minute mark, 30, 40 minutes. And you just have to show up again and again and again. And what's going to happen is you will hit opposition. The plan will not work. Just be ready. That's why you have to prepare to go there. That's why it's not about predicting, it's about preparing. And so when these scenarios come, you'll have to work through them. navigate them. You'll have to learn how to maneuver through things like, what happens if you miss the scheduled time? What do you do? Do you wait for the next one? Do you do it anyways? Do you, change the rest of your day? Like, what are you going to do? And I don't know that there's any right, perfect answer because it's different for every person in every context, but you have to be clear on that. You have to get that answer for yourself. What happens if you opt out more than one day, more than 2 days, more than 3 days? Like, when do you hit the red button and start calling on accountability to get you back on track? Like, what is that rebound strategy going to look like? What is that recovery time look like? What are you going to tell yourself? Or what checklist are you going to initiate when you tell yourself, I feel too sore to do any more? Like, how are you going to push through? And then, quite honestly, like, you got to start a little script that just helps you tell other people about how life is going and what you're working on and how you're working out, even when you feel embarrassed to talk about it. Guys, there is no shame in getting started. And there's no shame in starting again and again and again and again. Like, that's life. You just keep showing up. So it doesn't matter what age or stage you're in. I believe that working out is a foundational piece to help you. And if you don't feel like you're that health person or that, bodybuilding type or whatever, you just like, well, I don't really know if that's for me. Guys, your health is you. Like, you don't have to be in a club or a group to do this because this is your health. This is not about your image. This is about your impact. And you have to make time for this. Otherwise, you'll never find it. So work out with other people and consider working out with other people in mind. This doesn't have to be self-absorbed. This can actually be an act of service to other people, an act of service to your family, to your team, to your community, to the people that you're influencing. The worst thing is that you, in my mind at least, what's at stake, the worst thing is that I wouldn't develop a lifestyle of discipline. That sounds like just one of the worst things, because if you're not disciplined, then someone else will have to discipline you. Someone else will have to manage you or micromanage you. And I don't want to be micromanaged by anybody, whether it's a boss or a doctor or a politician or anybody. I want to develop to such a degree that I can lead myself, lead others, lead through others, not because I'm trying to just do my own thing. It's because I want to take responsibility so I can become a strength and not a burden. And it's important, and there is a lot at stake. And so I encourage you, get started and then get better. Just get started and then get better. All right. So that was working out. Just do it. Go for it. And you'll see results. It's amazing. My wife actually kind of snuck in a few pictures of me before and after, and it blew me away. So there's a lot of positive to power this. All right. Let's move on to workflows. Your job depends on this, but I really believe your life's work depends on this, because if you just revert back to mindlessness, if you just revert back to the mundane, or if you just reduce yourself to maintenance, you'll never even get to your life's work. And so finding time, making time to get in a workflow is mission critical. And I've kind of had this joke for a while. I want my productivity to feel more like a workflow than a workout, because sometimes just showing up is so taxing and demanding. But I want to encourage you, you can actually get to a place in your work style and in your approach to productivity where it doesn't even feel like work. It feels like you're just in the zone. It feels like you're just flowing. You wake up, I say wake up, but you look up and you're like, wow, it's been 4 hours and look at how much I got to accomplish. Look at how much I did. And, we act like that's a shooting star moment or a unicorn day. And we're like, well, that would never happen. And that only happens on rare occasions. But the conditions for those kind of amazing work moments are not external, they're internal. So that kind of success and that kind of workflow is an inside job. It's not an outside job. And I get it that, we're not going to be able to predict how the work will flow from day to day and what's going to come up from day to day, but we can prepare to get in a flow faster and work better when we're in that flow. Now, I made a video on YouTube. You can check it out. It's basically 5 areas that you need to be organizing. I'll put a link in this video, but it's basically the 5-part framework loosely that I'm working with when it comes to my approach to productivity. So that can also help you out if you're looking for some sort of reference point. But here's the goal. The goal when it comes to work, when it comes to productivity or creativity, it's to make space for that workflow to happen. So that way, when you're in the flow, you're not squandering it. You're not wasting that workflow, but man, you are maximizing that workflow. When you are on, you're going to be on. And that's easier said than done because you've got fake work and you've got real work. And it's possible to be on the clock, but off your game. And if you're just like, having a job, then it doesn't matter. But I mean, if you really have like a life's work, if you are doing something meaningful and mission critical, like if you want to go for impact, then you want to make that work time count. You want to bring your best. And so you're going to have to figure out, how do I identify fake work that's wasting my time, wasting dollars, wasting other people, the working relationships getting strained because something's fallen through the cracks. People aren't following through. Like, you don't want to do fake work, and you don't want to be the recipient of fake work. Fake work is the worst. Instead, you want to do real work. You want to do stuff that matters and that will last. And I believe that the difference between real work and fake work is pre-work. Pre-work. And what I mean is, you want to do the prep work up front so that way your real work will just flow. When you get in that zone, when it's go time, and you set that time block, you make that appointment with yourself. You say, I'm showing up and I'm going to do this. You're not getting interrupted. You're not remembering things that you need, supplies or answers. Man, that is pure focused time. And if we would do the legwork, if we would do the prep work, or what I'm referring to here as the pre-work, and you actually think out, what would the steps be and what would I need to accomplish that, then you'll have better and more effective work sessions. So it's the old adage, plan your work, work your plan. So there's 2 views when we get into that. Let me see. And really, you're just answering this question now. You're sitting down in the same way you're trying to set yourself up for success with the workouts. You want to set yourself up for success with the workflow. And this is so crazy to me, but it's very counterintuitive for a lot of people. It's funny to even say it, but it's so true. You have to work on your work on your work style, work on your work ethic, work on your working approach. Like, what kind of work do you want to do? And what kind of work environment do you want to operate with? And so as you are kind of doing that high level strategy, building the process of what a great work day could look like, feel like. And you show up again and again, you're practicing, you're learning, you're innovating, you get excited. That's part of the game. And then in the meantime, you're enjoying great, meaningful projects as well. Now, if you say, Peter, that's too idealistic, I don't have meaningful projects, I'm just showing up to get paid. Well, I understand that. I respect that. That's important. But you can dig deeper and work on your why, and you can find gold in that season of life. And so here are two views I want you to think out when you're planning your work, working your plan. One view is you're just identifying projects as it is. And so what I do is I have this hardback journal, and I just kind of doodle, mind map, and I'm just constantly looking and thinking through my projects on a high level. And this is going to help me look at, all the different sides of life, personal and work and everything. And that's what I refer to as head up. And you're kind of looking out at the next 3 months, or you're looking out at the next 12 months, and you're identifying the big projects that are going to matter at the end of the year, matter at the end of that season or cycle. And so you got to be really clear on which projects matter, which projects are going to count. And then you're also having another planning view where you're actually charting your course in a day-to-day sort of schedule. And that's where you're head down and you're focused and you're saying, okay, I know about all these projects and I am figuring out a way to incorporate them all into this one timeline. So here's a good work week for me. And again, this is more art than science. But if I can get a planning session in once a week, if I can get a weekly planning session in, it's 1 hour in, 1 week out. So my view, my project, my scope is 1 week out. And then I'm putting about 1 hour into that project. I want to try to have this planning session done before Sunday, because in my approach, Sunday's day one. And I'm thinking about the calendar in terms of big rocks and time blocks. And I'm looking at life, not just work, but I'm focused on ending up with a working plan. And I want to build the work week with these time blocks in mind. And I could go on and on about kind of the tactics behind it, because I think a lot of people mistake what a calendar is for. So many calendars are cluttered by other people's priorities, but that calendar is your time. It is a representation. It is a tool of how you're going to use your time. And I'm just convinced that your frustration or your expectation is going to be determined by the way you fill up your calendar. And so I use time blocks. For you, you could use 30, 60, or 90-minute time blocks. I just have a single unit of 90-minute time blocks throughout each day. And instead of trying to reinvent the wheel every single week, I'm not doing that. Instead, I'm trying to get strategic about a pattern or a map that could fit the season of life that I'm in. You will have to change it, if you have a life change or as you grow, and you level up, you're going to have to change it and update it. But by and large, you can have the same map to help you navigate that terrain, that landscape. I'm using metaphors here, but you could have the map kind of get you pretty far in the landscape for a few weeks at least, and it's good to update it, and it's good to work on it. And I have found that instead of waiting on the perfect plan to then implement, you get started and then you get better. And that's what this is showing up week after week. I'm not reinventing the calendar. I'm not reinventing the schedule. I'm just fine-tuning. I'm adapting. I'm, adjusting what worked, what didn't work. All right, recommit. Okay, pull out. And I'm just kind of experimenting and working on that schedule. Then once that is done for the week, and I've looked out at the week and I know like some clear calendar commitments, things that are repeating or things that have been on the calendar for a while, and I drop them in. So now I have a contextualized view of that week. It's not just theory. It's not just some, template approach that's kind of disconnected from what's going on. Like, you do have life going on. And so if there's a big project or an event or something that's just going to block out like a few of your days, like, that's cool. You can do that. But you want to have some sort of strategic view before you just like break in with more of a hustle culture mindset. And then each day I do show up. I do have a little part in my morning routine where I'm just jotting down, again, high point tasks that I want to accomplish. It's not the projects. It's not the goals. It's not that big, planning. It's just today. What do I need to knock out today? Knowing what I know, what is important today. And that's just great to have and do. I also have a little checklist that I use and that I work on constantly. And it's just to help me start my workflow. And so it's kind of like a little on-ramp or a little trigger that helps me get into that workflow, get into the work zone. It creates enough separation between the morning or early morning and then the work day. And then I do the same to stop. And that's been a really big, helpful tactic I picked up from the Michael Hyatt team. But using a short little checklist of maybe 3 to 5 steps that you're going to do every single day just to get into your work, like before work ever happens. I'll give you one example. You could turn on your computer. You could show up to a certain space. You could set the lights a certain way or have music that facilitates or supplements your focus. Another thing is I want to keep track of where the time went. So I do some time tracking. I'm not like super down to the minutes with it, but what I like to do is use those same time blocks, which are 90 minutes, and just periodically as I'm transitioning through those different time blocks, I just kind of give a report in bullet points. Okay, what happened? And you'll notice there are natural breaks in your work. There's natural transitions in your work. And so you're just trying to notice that when it happens and you have somewhere to document it. It's not just something that you're thinking of and trying to put it in a note. Doesn't really work. Just have it like an easy work log. I keep that work log in Evernote and I just compound notes, and it's working really well for me. All right, then when you're planning and you're working on a workflow, you've got to be using due dates and due days. Due dates and due days. What do I mean? You start with the end in mind and you say, okay, this is my project and this is the due date. I'm sticking to it. I'm committing to it. I want to get it done by this due date. And that's great. But a lot of us just procrastinate. Right? You say, oh, the paper is due, the project is due, the proposal is due, the thing is due. So we wait until the last minute and we try to cram it. Instead, you have to also put more days on that schedule, put more days in that calendar that say, okay, when are you actually going to do that project? When are you actually going to work on that project? I'm asking clarifying questions all the time. I'm asking clarifying questions of myself. I'm asking clarifying questions of the people I work with and the people on my team. Clarifying questions are very important to get in a workflow, because so many times you're trying to take 3 or 4 steps in your project, and then you get stalled or you get stuck. And so then what do you have to do? You have to message somebody, you have to ask someone, maybe they're available, maybe they're not. And so getting things cleared up front will help you show up in the moment and really get offline, get off limits, and go do great work. And then the last thing I'll mention now, and this could be like so much more content later, but the last thing I'll mention now is part of a great workflow is being organized. Part of being organized is going to help you stay mobilized. So think about how you're not just the content you're making, you're creating, curating, but like, how are you going to organize that? How are you going to organize that effectively, efficiently? And that is a project in and of itself. And that can become something that you show up to at least weekly, cleaning things out, putting things in a good place. And so I have most of it is, I would think, in cloud storage at this point, but also with the physical backups. And you can find so many great videos on that. But I really want you to figure out what makes a good work session just flow, and then create that, kind of reverse engineer it and go for it. So all in all, if you want to make life work for you, you got to do it day by day. And over time, you're going to see amazing results, but you got to be willing to put in the work. And these are 2 areas I think are amazing and mission critical. If you could actually, develop, design, strategize how you're going to get started, get better with workouts and workflows, it will really make a big difference. I'd love to hear from you in the comments, something that was helpful or stood out. And I'm going to be wrapping this up, kind of landing the plane right now. Tomorrow, we will be back on the journey. We'll be back in this coaching conversation. And I'm going to be talking about the day you really start leading yourself. When is the day you really start leading yourself? And what does it look like when you get to that point? And what's going to happen when you do? I really appreciate you being on the coaching journey. This was fun. It was cool to kind of incorporate some comments. So that's kind of a new feature we can work with, see how that goes. This will stay on the replay for a while, and then it will go away. So take advantage of it. I want to be hearing from you. Are you going to work on your workouts, or are you going to be improving your workflows? Both are mission critical. Guys, remember, you're going places, but you got to prepare to go there. So follow more at peterbirchfield.com, or find me on Instagram at Peter Birchfield. I want to help you get the free fail-proof planning guide, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, awesome, guys.